Criminal proceedings are on hold for a North State man accused of killing his father. We'll tell you why and when he could return to court.
Police are offering a warning to college students ahead of the busy Labor Day weekend. The rules they say many people don't understand and the consequences they could face. Good evening, I'm Alan Marsden.
And I'm Kira Klapper. NBC 24 Action News at 5 starts now.
You're watching Action News at 5 on NBC 24. Live, local, late-breaking.
An entire industrial complex on the outskirts of East Chico is being investigated by Butte County Code Enforcement after officers discovered several people living there.
Well, is it a sign of the times or just a single incident that went unnoticed by property managers? Well, Action News reporter Britt Carlson joins us now to explain why it's such a serious violation. Britt?
Well, Alan and Kira, it makes the entire complex dangerous for all tenants because industrial buildings don't meet the same living requirements that residential buildings do. Gasoline Alley just outside of East Chico used to be a booming complex with solid businesses, according to longtime tenants.
In recent years, there's been a lot of anchor tenants that have left. That is sad.
A recent code enforcement violation is making some tenants question the direction the warehouse complex is headed.
Our code enforcement officer discovered trailers. People were living in trailers out there. There were some units, warehouse units, that had actual tenants in there.
The Gasoline Alley owners, Francis Property Management, was given 30 days to get all the people living in the warehouses out. Now tenants use these units for everything from legitimate businesses to work on cars, even band practice. And although the property manager wouldn't speak to us on camera, he said it's just hard to track all that activity in every unit. But business owners in the area noticed a lot of suspicious activity.
There's been a significant increase in crime out here. I mean, there's been thefts, there's been vandalisms, there's just a lot of debris left over when people leave.
Not only does it violate code, but enforcement officials say it brings up safety issues.
This is a warehouse commercial area, and those type of structures are not set up with the proper facilities for sanitation, sleeping, dining, eating.
Francis Property Management sent out a letter last week to all tenants telling them to remove all inappropriate living equipment. Many business owners on site have already seen people who were living there move out.
I would like to see this complex get cleaned up.
And if it's not, it's the owners that will have to defend themselves in court. Well, enforcement officers will do another inspection in mid-September, and they say they are working with the property managers. Code enforcement does offer services for these folks who do get displaced. All code violations can be reported anonymously online. We've set up a link to that on our website at knvn.com. For Action News, I'm Britt Carlson.
Thank you, Britt, for that report. The father of the man suspected of killing a Fort Bragg city councilman says his son suffered from severe mental health problems before moving into the woods about 4 months ago. James Bassler says his son, 35-year-old Aaron Bassler, refused to accept professional help for schizophrenia. Authorities say Aaron Bassler shot and killed Fort Bragg city councilman Jerry Mello Saturday. Mello, a forest land manager, was searching for marijuana farms with a friend in a rugged area outside of Fort Bragg when they came across an opium garden Bassler reportedly was tending. After an intensive search, Bassler does remain at large. Meanwhile, Mendocino County Sheriff's officials are investigating whether he is connected to the fatal shooting of another land manager in the area August 11th.
Criminal proceedings were suspended today for the Magalia man accused of killing his father while doctors evaluate his mental competency. 31-year-old Christopher McCarty entered a plea of not guilty, as well as not guilty by reason of insanity for the murder of his father. 55-year-old Mike McCarty was found dead inside his Magalia home of a gunshot wound earlier this month.
There's been some questions raised about his mental competency, both to stand trial and whether he is legally responsible if he's guilty of killing his father, whether he's legally responsible for it because of his mental condition.
The party will be evaluated by doctors and will be back in court September 28th.
A Reading school librarian accused of stealing money from a school club has reached a plea deal. Wanell Stoles this morning pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor charge of grand theft. She was placed on 3 years probation. Stoles was arrested last August for stealing more than $13,000 from Sycamore Elementary School and the Parent Faculty Club between 2004 and 2009. This afternoon, the attorney for Stoles informed the district Stoles will tender her resignation effective September 30th. The principal of Sycamore Elementary has filed a lawsuit against the district, claiming that she was retaliated against after reporting the misconduct by Stoles. In the suit, Lana Riley claims that the school district did not investigate Stoles after she reported her suspicions about possible embezzlement. She also claims that she was given a bad performance evaluation because Stoles' husband was the president of the Board of Trustees at that time. A former Reading teacher is wanted by authorities after she failed to appear in court yesterday. A $500,000 bench warrant has been issued for Diane Fisher, who's facing felony charges for identity theft and burglary. Fisher was arrested last April for allegedly shoplifting at the Macy's in Mount Shasta Mall. She also reportedly opened a fraudulent account at Wind River Casino with a stolen ID. Fisher taught in the Enterprise School District for 7 years. She's been in and out of jail since 2000 for several other burglary and robbery charges.
Driving or riding around Chico's Bidwell mansion should soon be a little easier and a little safer. Construction crews were widening the circle inside the entrance of Bidwell mansion to reduce the number of near collisions state park officials say take place most days. Bikes, pedestrians, and cars traveling in the area have long caused problems as people use the entrance to make U-turns and also as a throughway to the Chico State campus. Officials say the intersection becomes especially messy when students come and go from Chico High School. Construction will continue through September, but construction crews are doing what they can to keep the area open to traffic.
We're keeping it open. Matter of fact, we're pouring this section so for over the holidays that they'll have a place where they can cut through this way.
$100,000 for the project comes from federal transportation funds allocated to state parks.
Well, turning now to weather, it was ever so slightly cooler out there today, but will it last until the Labor Day weekend? We can only hope, right? For that, we check in with Court Klopping, who's in tonight for Chris Kuiper in the AccuWeather Center. Court.
That is wishful thinking, hoping that this nice and cool conditions will stick around for the weekend, but it doesn't look like that's the case. We are looking at a bit of a warm-up, but for tomorrow, looks like these cool conditions will stick around for at least one more day, so that's the great news out there. Also, good news is all of those clear skies that we're going to see through the weekend as well. Doesn't look like much cloud coverage on the way to Northern California, but we are going to still see those cooler conditions for tomorrow. Now, what's really bringing these cool conditions on is this trough up to the northwest of our area, or east of our area, really, leaving us with that access area, bringing it down into California, really cooling most areas down, so we'll still see that impact for tomorrow, but after that it looks like high pressure going to build up for the weekend forecast and leave us with a big surge of high temperatures working on the way in. Now taking a look at what we're expecting for the valley tonight, temperatures dipping down into the 50s and 60s with clear skies. Higher elevations also expecting temperatures dipping down into the high 30s to low 40s. Now coming up in just a bit, we'll check back in, talk about that hotter weather on the way in your weekend forecast.
Thanks, Court. President Obama has called for a joint session of Congress next week to unveil his plan to create jobs and kickstart the economy. Well, today, flanked by business and labor leaders at the White House, the president called on Congress to start by extending the federal highway bill.
The program is set to expire at the end of next month, and if politics get in the way, the president is warning that 1 million jobs and billions of dollars may be lost. Brian Moore reports from Washington.
President of the United States.
In a week, President Obama wants to present his jobs plan in a primetime address to Congress and the nation. Today, he started turning up the heat on lawmakers.
It's time to stop the political gamesmanship that can actually cost us hundreds of thousands of jobs.
He is calling on Congress to extend the federal highway bill to build up roads, bridges, and rail lines. Republicans and Democrats are at odds on how much to spend, and if nothing's done before the end of September,
almost 1 million workers could lose their jobs over the course of the next year.
Labor and business leaders are throwing their weight behind the president, at least on this bill. But the Chamber of Commerce wants the White House to ease regulations on energy and other industries to promote investments.
If you're talking about millions of jobs without spending money, only giving the go-ahead to do what needs to be done.
But the AFL-CIO wants more help for working families, and even more for those that aren't working.
The economic mess, this inequality, and this joblessness are the result of politics, which means the solution must be political as well.
With the unemployment rate stuck above 9%, job fairs like this one in Los Angeles and this one in Atlanta are still a booming business.
Emotionally draining. I've been looking for over a year now.
And they're looking to Washington to get the job done. The president wants to give his address on the same night as a GOP presidential debate. The White House calls that coincidence, but Republicans say it's politics. Brian Moore, NBC News, Washington.
Thank you, Brian. The government is saying no to a possible AT&T and T-Mobile merger. Justice Department officials say they filed a lawsuit to block AT&T's $39 billion deal to purchase T-Mobile. Why, you may ask? They argue the acquisition of the nation's number 4 wireless carrier by the number 2 AT&T would reduce competition and raise prices for consumers.
We are seeking to block this deal in order to maintain a vibrant and competitive marketplace that allows everyone to benefit from lower prices, better quality, and innovative products.
AT&T could challenge the Justice Department's action in court. If the deal fails, it could put T-Mobile in a difficult position. It's struggling to compete with the larger carriers, and owner Deutsche Telekom has said it's not willing to invest more in the venture.
A new bill authorizing the governor to appoint an inspector general to oversee the state's National Guard is making its way through the legislature. The state Senate unanimously approved the bill, which stems from an investigation that uncovered several cases of fraud and misconduct within the Guard. On top of allowing for the independent inspector general, the bill also calls for protections for whistleblowers. The bill now heads to the Assembly.
Coming up next on NBC 24 Action News at 5, do you know how much of your personal information is accessible online? We'll show you just how some of the smallest pieces of information could tell criminals a lot about you.
Plus, we'll explain why Facebook is happy to have hackers looking for security problems and how much you could earn if you spot one.